may have seen us talk about this earlier. One of Britain's richest men, the billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe, says he is sorry if his choice of words offended some people when he said Britain had been colonised by immigrants.
But the Manchester United co-owner did not withdraw the wider concerns about immigration that he made in an interview with Sky News. Let's take a listen.
You can't afford, you can't have an economy with 9 million people on benefits and huge levels of immigrants coming in. I mean, the UK is being colonised. The UK is being colonised by immigrants, really, isn't it? I mean, the population of the UK was 58 million in 2020. Now it's 70 million.
He got his facts wrong. It was 58 million about in 2000, so a quarter of a century ago. But let's talk to Liverpool and England legend John Barnes, who joins us now. John, a very good morning to you. Good to see you.
Morning.
OK, this morning, we know that the FA are saying that they're going to look into the comments, presumably to see if he's brought the game into disrepute and so on. Can I just get your initial thoughts on the FA's take on it and then also yours?
Well, I don't think this has anything to do with football. I don't think the FA should get involved, you know, because, of course, we believe that the ills of the world are on football, so we try and get football to solve the ills of the world. I have no issue with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I have no issue with his debate on immigration. That's a valid debate to be had. Of course, immigration brings lots of good. And, of course, when you talk about illegal immigration, that has to be addressed, which I agree with him on that. The only issue the only thing I have an issue with was the word colonized. That is the only thing about this whole debate, because we have to have meaningful discussion on immigration as to whether it's good, it's bad, and, you know, illegal immigrants coming in. We have to separate illegal immigration to immigration. But once you lump all of that together, that gives a negative perception of all immigrants. Now, the colonized bit is the thing that I have an issue with, because, of course, by no stretch of the imagination can we interpret what's happening with immigration as colonization. Colonization is when a settler community from a different country comes to our country and dominates and exploits economically and politically and controls the system. That is not happening. That is not happening. And for anyone to feel that we're being colonized is very detrimental. We can see what colonization actually does throughout history. And even now, if you look what's going on in the Middle East and you look what's going on all over, if you are colonized, you actually fight back tooth and nail against it. And if you are the colonizer, you impart violence on the people you're colonizing. That is not happening here. And that's the only issue I have with the whole debate about Jim Ratcliffe. I agree with him on some points about immigration, and we can have that discussion. But as far as the colonization part goes, that is completely wrong. And for Nigel Farage to come and say yesterday, as I saw, that by the interpretation in the dictionary, he agrees with him about England being colonized or Great Britain being colonized. No, the interpretation in the dictionary, the meaning in the dictionary actually states that it's the domination, exploitation, and control of an indigenous population by foreign entities, which is not happening here.
So there's a lack of facts, isn't there? But I can also see there's a passion from you. I want to know where you fear that some of this language and the things you fear it might trigger. You, of course, we've spoken before about it, haven't we, John? You, of course, came here with your family when you were young, very young, weren't you? When you came here with your family, obviously an absolute hero of the UK now. But you've experienced dreadful racism. I mean, one of the images, I hope you don't mind us showing it, is of you in the middle of a match, kicking away a banana skin that had been thrown at you and getting on with the job, because that's how used to it you were. It was a long time ago. They're struggling to find it, and maybe it doesn't matter if we don't see it.
That's okay.
Maybe it's better.
That's okay. It doesn't.
Maybe it's better if we don't see it. But I wonder if words like this concern you about the battle you have always fought about racism.
Well, words like this doesn't necessarily concern me, because my situation is different. As much as you said I came here as a youngster, my dad was a diplomat. He came here as a diplomat. We lived in Highgate. We lived in Mayfair. We were fine. We were an elite group of people coming from Jamaica. My dad mother's family started the first Jamaican government. So my situation is completely different to the immigrant situation, because we didn't immigrate.
Yeah.
In fact, the only reason I stayed was because they offered me a place to play football. My family went back to Jamaica after 4 years because it was a diplomatic post. So I'm not talking from my own experiences. I'm talking about from an immigration perspective. And once again, there are two debates to this whole thing. Immigration is a separate issue to colonization. And as I said, if you want to have a meaningful discussion about immigration, yes, that can be had. And he made some very valid points about immigration. Of course, it has to be controlled, but we also have to separate illegal immigration to immigration, which brings a lot of benefits to this country. That's a separate issue. The colonization bit is the most damaging bit, which we can see what happens when you either use the word colonized or colonizer, and you can see the damage that has caused from a violent perspective worldwide for hundreds of years. So for me, I think we should clarify that. And for Nigel Farage to come and say that he agrees with that because that's what colonization is, it is not what colonization is. That is not ambiguous. That is wrong.
Yeah.
We are not being colonized.
John, how do you think Sir Jim Ratcliffe will be treated when he comes back, if he comes back for a home game or something? Because Manchester United, the club itself, without mentioning him, did release a statement talking about the pride it has in inclusivity and a diverse group of players and staff and the global community that are supporting the club. The Manchester Mayor, Andy Burnham, said the comments do not, they go against everything that Manchester has traditionally stood for. What, will he be sort of persona non grata for a while, do you think, if he comes back?
Well, I think he should come out and clarify and separate the whole colonised and immigration debate, because, of course, there is a debate to be had regardless of whether you're Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Manchester United major shareholder, or Jim Ratcliffe, the human being, the Englishman who is worried about, illegal immigrants and what effect that has in the economy. But I think I think he's actually apologized about his comments or clarified his comments on colonised, which was a clumsy word to use, and it probably wasn't meant in that way. And even Simon Jordan, who talks about, he sees the sentiment to the argument. The sentiment is regarding immigration.
Yeah.
But not colonization. And I think once he does that and he says, well, listen, this colonized was a bit clumsy, I didn't mean it in that way, that's fine. The immigration debate is one that can be had and you can view it one way or the other.
Yeah, and I think it's, we've run out of time, but it is interesting to see that you can have the President of America refuse to apologise for putting out a picture of Obama as apes. But here, at least in this country, there is still an element of being able to hold people to account for the language they use. And sometimes people actually say sorry.
Yeah, I think it was a mistake, the word colonised, because as I said, the immigration debate is fine, but the colonised, I think if he clarifies that and says that, obviously I didn't mean it in that way, for me, no issue.
John, always good to talk to you.
It is. And actually, of course, Keir Starmer has asked for an apology as well, so that's the difference
Yes,
in
indeed.
our Prime Minister,
yes,
isn't it?
absolutely right.